Any minute now. Come on, YouTube. There we go. And boop. There we go. Okay. I think we're all good. Mostly. There we go. Hope you folks are having a good day. Good time of day to you. Let's see here. Lich King Painting. OPR Age of Fantasy. Nice. Spurs fan, how you doing? Katie Stands, OPR, Song of Ice and Fire, Marvel Crisis Protocol, and Dust 1947, which is now dead. Lemur Crazy, Middle Earth Strategy Battle Game, and Bushido. Nice. Brian Rombos says Ogre, Heavy Gear. Nice. Played both of those. Chain of Command. Favorite wargame is Starfleet Battles. Wow, I haven't played that since forever. I think I lived with my parents last time I played that game. Warcry is my fast and accessible. I get that. First love was Battletech. Hadn't heard of Warhammer until the post-FASA drought when some friends got me a Start Collecting box. Nice. Group's name is Frostgrave. Group's game is Frostgrave. Gotcha. VJ Morph, how you doing? Morning from a foggy Kansas City. Yeah, it has not been sunny here for, well, since I got back from Vegas, which is nearly a week. It has just been gray, yet above freezing. So everything is slushy and gray. It's been like that since I got back from Vegas. Now, to be fair, it wasn't great in Vegas. It was cloudy in Vegas the entire time I was there as well. So I haven't seen the sun in a while. Chile, Central Texas, Clearwater, Florida, Quebec, Rockton, Illinois. Did I see GW release some very old sculpts for the old world? Sounds about right. Yes, look like the old plastic knights from 20 years ago. Oh yeah, no, they're cranking out all the old jams. I guess I don't know how that's going to work out, but there you go. Going from California, Houston, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania as well, Southwest Pennsylvania. Haven't managed to develop a favorite yet. Okay, that's cool. I need to run errands. Are these usually archive recorded so I can review later? Yes. Johnny Morris, how you doing? Afternoon from Scotland. Bolt Action is my favorite right now. Nice. Hello from cloudy Milwaukee, needing more snow instead of rain. Yeah, we had a bunch of rain too. I think now it's maybe sprinkling. Well, maybe not. Is that painting up some old metal Space Marine scouts for my Crimson Fists? Nice. Hello from the south of France. Had enough problems with the storm on Thursday and waiting for power to be restored. That's no good. Calgary, how you doing? 5 parsecs from home. Mordheim, good time of day from sunny and mild Surrey. Speaking of Mordheim, I was invited to go to the New England Mordheim Open. It's the largest Mordheim event in the world. It's happening this weekend. But it was because I just got back from Vegas. Like I wanted to go to that, but I didn't want to be gone 2 weekends in a row. So, unfortunately I wasn't able to go, but maybe next year we'll see how it goes. Stargrave, Middle Earth Strategy Battle best game. Messbig. I mean, we could say Messbig. That's a little bit quicker. I don't know. The look of classic Warhammer, both kinds, is a strong temptation for me. Art and models. Gotcha. Star Wars Legion, which I'm surprised you don't like more since it has alternating activations. I like it fine. I have an army, actually, of Empire built and painted. I've got Director Krennic, and I've got Veers, and I've got Death Troopers, and, well, I call them extreme climate troopers, because I painted them desert color, because all my stuff is desert themed. The normal stormtroopers are just still plain old white, because, people who make their equipment just don't care. But when you get to be a scout or, a snow trooper or whatever, then they give you stuff that matches your environment. That's my personal headcanon. Anywho, I built and painted it and all that kind of stuff. And then all the people who I knew who played it stopped. And they all switched over to Marvel, which I'm not super interested in. So that's kind of the problem right there. Really missed Monster Apocalypse 1.0. I mean, that's, Cyclone followed by Heat Wave. Well, that sounds like no fun. Soggy, New Jersey, working on my Conflict 47 Marine Army. Nice. Necromunda is fantastic. Nice. Chattanooga, working on some Warcry Ogre Gorgers. Nice. Slushy and sunny in Omaha today. Hoping the sun will clear out a bunch of this road salt and exhaust sludge snow. Yeah, the snow's gotten real gray. Everything's gray. Just bought into A Song of Ice and Fire, and I'm pretty pumped. Wish I wasn't late to the party. Well, I mean, it's better late than never, I suppose. Greetings from Lexington, Kentucky. Finishing up some fantasy figs for our 5 leagues campaign. Nice. Edinburgh. Painting some Warcry models. Nice. Probably my favorite game. Cool. Hey, VJ Morph. How you doing? Still like 40K even after 5 editions. I started in 5th as well. Morning from a more typically dreary winter in Middle Tennessee. I'm not sure if this counts, but my most played Wargame would probably be Old School Axis and Allies. Oh, okay. I mean, it's. I think of that more as a board game personally, but it's semantics really. Maryland. I used to be a Warhammer guy since 1990. I've moved to one-page rules after the past couple of years of shenanigans. I can understand that. Modern miniatures war games haven't really settled on me. Gotcha. Morning from Lake Lenore. Hello from Ottawa. Excited for the old world. Warcry and Malifaux are probably my favorite at the moment. Depends on what level of complexity I want. I can understand that for sure. Please make a game where I can use those Bretonnian Knights without spending $250. Who's this going to hurt? I mean, we're not really into army-style games. I'm not into rank and flank really at all, so I don't know that that's going to happen. But, I mean, maybe you could, I mean, you know. Greece from Germany, painting some Star Wars Armada squadrons. Nice. Painting some Hero Quest. Right now it's Space Station Zero and also Stargrave. Well, that's very nice of you, Michael. I appreciate that. Favorite mechanic, interesting initiative systems. I like those as well. I think interesting initiative systems are a lot of fun. I mean, they're interesting, for one thing. I like the system in Mobile Frame Zero, which I have played, and interested in Crossfire. Haven't played yet. Interesting. Man of War and Battlefleet Gothic. Gotcha. My group is big on Crisis Protocol. Hosted a tourney yesterday. Got my butt kicked. Well, you know, but did you have fun? Because if you had fun, then you won. That's the way I look at it. Working on Old Rogues for Stargrave right now. Nice. Not my favorite, but playing a lot of Warlords of Erewhon. I'm trying to remember who makes that. Slushy and Gray sums up the summer we've had. There hasn't been a great one. That at least the country hasn't been on fire. Well, I mean, yeah, not being on fire is better, for sure. Started with 2nd edition X-Wing, still a favorite. Also Legion and Shatterpoint because of the mechanics, not just that they're Star Wars. Well, that's good. Judge Dredd and Core Space, high from the UK. I'm looking forward to Judge Dredd. I bought a starter and some terrain, and I'm looking forward to getting a chance. Now that, well, I'm not really going anywhere for the month of February, but I'll be gone a lot in March, so we'll see how it goes. Cool topic for today's live stream. I appreciate it. On the Isle of Wight, getting ready to do some overtime at work today. Well, there you go. Painting American Civil War, War of Spanish Succession, and English Civil War. Some kobolds, goblins for an outdoor Hero Quest mod. Magnificent 7 fantasy game. Nuts. Or neat. And then the next thing is Nuts by 2 War Games, which I've heard of. Doing some Forbidden Psalm last war painting. Cool. Good morning from Soggy, Columbus, Ohio. OPR Firefight is my current jam. Yeah, I like that a lot too. I like its modular streamlined rules, easier to play, 40K. Somebody in the comments on my video recently, one of my videos recently, was like, basically, he's like, if the rules aren't super, super crazy, crunchy in depth, then it's bland and you're wasting your time. It was a little judgmental, I'm just going to say, because I like it when rules are streamlined. But he's like, if rules are streamlined and they're not difficult, then what are you even doing? And I'm like, I mean, we all have our different opinions. Just, you know. I just like mine better. Which is why it's my opinion, I guess. Good morning from a soggy Columbus, Ohio. OPO Firefight is my current jam. I think I just read that. Hello from Albuquerque. How you doing? Shatterpoint has my fancy lately. I don't remember if I saw any Shatterpoint at the LVO. I saw tons of Legion, and I saw X-Wing, but I don't know if I saw any Shatterpoint. You could use the Knights in turn up 28. Yep, you could kit bash them and use them turn up 28. That's a good point. Warhammer 2nd edition. Oh. Favorite game, one-page rules. My tabletop group doesn't play as much, and one-page rules allows us to quickly play a game with intuitive rules. Yeah. Been playing some Border Patrol lately, which is like combat patrol for the old world. Interesting. Pretty new to wargaming, and Space Station Zero is the only one I've played, which is wicked fun. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it there, Cody. Favorite initiative system is Pulp Alley. I'm familiar with the concept of Pulp Alley, but I guess I don't know about the initiative system. I should watch a battle report. I think that Ash from Guerrilla Miniature Games has done some battle reports. Waiting for the Perrys and Jervis Johnson to modify their free rules, Valor, and Fortitude rules for other periods. Gotcha. After seeing Old World, I can definitely see how 40K overtook Fantasy. It's easier to play, and the theme was new. That's why I can't quit Kill Team. Sure. Gaslands has been my favorite for a while. Gotcha. Building a Sherman VC Firefly for Tanks for the Apocalypse. Nice. Strategy battle game Middle Earth. Looks like GW will be producing new models and expansions this year after a sparse 2023. Well, that'd be good. Broken Legions. I like Infinity and 40K. Warlord Games does Warlords of Erewhon. Gotcha. Designed by Rick Priestley. Nice. Has to be Tanks for the Apocalypse. Can't beat the ease of play and the scratch the gaming itch. I mean, Tanks from the Apocalypse? Like right here? Like from this thing? I appreciated it, Joseph. That's very nice of you to say. We had a lot of fun making it. And I have a bit of a cold today. Sorry. Or something. I'm stuffed up. But yeah, we had a lot of fun making it. And I'm looking forward to... I ordered the terrain. My friend is printing out the terrain that we've picked for the tables we're going to have at Adepticon. So... they'll get printed over the next week or so, I suppose, and then I will start painting them so that basically I kind of need to have them mostly done before March, because early March I'm going to the Gamma show in Louisville, and then I'm home for like a week, maybe a week and a half, and then I'm going to Adepticon. So yeah, I got to get them done sort of quick. Morning from Seattle, Blackstone Fortress. Nice. That's more of a board game. Yeah, I would say that one is a little bit of a what do I call that? Not a cross. It's it kind of is on the fence as far as between the two. Cyberpunk Combat Zone. Nice. I'm hoping to paint those guys eventually too. Painting some weird goblin guys from the skirmish game called Bushido Risen Sun. Nice. Detroit Asagi 2. Gaslands is my favorite. Nice. Streamlined rules are for people with friends. One from St. Louis, working on my Gene Stealers for my 6-year-old's first 40K army. He chose Tyranids. I missed first generation War Machine. Interesting, yeah. If life isn't overly complicated and a constant grind, why you're even alive? I mean, I guess there's that too, sure. Shatterpoint had a fun attack system. I did one demo of it at Adepticon last year, and I don't remember much other than the fact that there were a lot of tokens. Armadas, hence the paying. The rules are simple but a lot of fun. The movement and interaction of the ships feels very cinematic. The one thing I remember really about the demos that I did of Armada were that they were... I loved that the bigger ships, you were making plans further and further in advance, and that kind of simulated the fact that the ship couldn't like turn on a dime and react quickly. I liked that, whereas smaller ships did fewer and fewer plans in advance so that they could react more quickly. I thought that was a super smart move. Loving Silver Bayonet at the moment. Nice. So which of your favorite cast of hobby YouTubers did you catch up with at LVO? I saw Wargamer Girl. We caught up for a little bit. Who else did I see there? Talked with Duncan for a while. Duncan and Roger, who's his partner in that situation. Hadn't seen Duncan in years, so that was nice. There weren't a ton of other folks there that were YouTubers that I knew of. I mean, obviously, Phil, the Glacial Geek, and Sam, but they were there in the booth with me from time to time, and we would go to dinner and stuff like that. But I'm trying to think who else there was. like I said, Wargamer Girl, definitely talked with her for a little bit, and Duncan. I can't remember anybody else that my memory's bad. Really enjoy the setting and theme of Infinity, and the models are gorgeous, but the rules are just so clunky and overly complex, it turns me off of the game. Yeah, the game is, to me, I've done 3 different demos, and it's just never quite struck me. Have you tried Firefight from Mantic Games? I haven't. Mordheim, it's about the vintage. Getcha. Greetings from the Big Apple, painting up some Bakunin nuns for Infinity on a day with a cement sky. Yeah, no, it's cementy here, too. Thinking tanks for the apocalypse, but in Europe to include other tank types. Since I have several kits to see how it goes. Sure, you could do that. There's no reason you couldn't. Playing Wargames since 1991. My most favorite game is Warhammer Underworlds. Fast game, no disputes ever, over half an inch, and no toxic in the community. Nice. Making rules hard, complex just for the sake of it is pretty much gatekeeper as it gets. I feel like that sometimes too, for sure. Complex rules rarely feed to fun games. Any rules that need more than 1-page summary sheet are too complex for me. You know, like some people evidently seem to like it when a game is really, really, really super crunchy and in-depth and stuff like that. But I'm less interested in that personally. Introduced my D&D group to Dragon Rampant the other day. Quickly devolved into murder hobo shenanigans. I mean, well, that makes sense with a D&D group. Acts as an ally's collectible miniatures game, War at Sea. I remember seeing that. Is Judge Dredd skirmish? I'm torn between that and Slain. Yeah, Judge Dredd is skirmish. Generally asymmetrical skirmish, which is to say usually you have maybe a couple of judges and then a bunch of gangers. But even a bunch of gangers in that situation is still like maybe 8, you know. So, yeah. Grimdark Future and Grimdark Future Firefighter are my favorite war games. I'd be able to play with friends and family of all different levels of complexity and some simple rules. It's great to build teams and whatever you want. The team builder for those games is actually really, really, really good, which I've mentioned before. They're very, very good. And when you print out the sheet that has your force on it, it has also all of the stuff you need. You know, so instead of saying, here's a special rule that your person has, why don't you go look it up in the book and figure it out? Instead, it just goes, why don't we just put it on the sheet? You know what I mean? Which I wish that GW would do in any fashion, but they rarely ever do. It's pretty rare. Because they want you to buy all the books. They want you to justify having, oh, well, I have to have these 5 books to play the game because I have to be able to look up all these different things. Well, you don't, but, you know. Chain of Command by 2 Fat Lardies. Nice. I want this year to be the year I try Underworlds. I want to get more Grimdark Future, Age of Fantasy regiments, and Weasel Tech on the table. Nice. Mordheim. I have so many in my local LGS playing a massive Mordheim campaign. So good. Well, that's very cool. I'm glad to see Mordheim does so well. I'm amazed almost kind of that they didn't... I'm a little surprised they didn't decide to redo Mordheim as opposed to redoing the old world. That... I feel like Mordheim would sell better. I don't know. And then someone's going to say, well, yeah, but they sold out of old... Yeah, because they made 5 of them. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people in the comments from last week's video who's like, well, if they're selling out all the time, then obviously the price isn't too high. And I'm like, when you only make a bare minimum amount because you're having production problems, then it's real easy to sell out, for sure. So I guess there's that. Just picked up Snarl. I can't wait to play some tanks. Nice. Battletech, my first love, from 1989. I started playing it in middle school, so that would have been in the early-ish 80s. 84, maybe. Have you ever heard or tried Rogue Stars? I own a copy of it. I know it's by the same guy who did Song of Blades and Heroes, Andreas Sfigoli, which I think I'm mispronouncing. I'm friends with him on Facebook. I've never played it, though. I've flipped through it. I picked it up at I think I bought it in Madison at a game store. It's one of those those Osprey blue books. Happy Sunday from a beautiful Junction City, Wisconsin. I'm glad I could catch the show for a bit. Love painting for GW games, but I haven't played any real games yet. We play a lot of Munchkin. Excuse me, Munchkin and Catan. Nice. I like how Warcry's initiative system combines activation order and access to abilities. It's not just who wins, but who loses initiative. Yeah, no, I agree. It's a really smart initiative system. Loved first edition Necromunda. My friends and I created some great scenarios for it. Also 4th and 5th of 40K. Great times and memories. Nice. The 95 Necromunda remains my favorite, while my wife prefers Warcry version 1. Still have Weird's Malifaux 3rd edition, Warlord Games Gate of Antares, and Scale Games Fallen Frontiers in the to-try pile. Nice. Got some stuff to go then. Haven't been here live for years. I'm really sorry for Diesel. 2 weeks ago, I lost my dog, and I still can't find my place. No, I appreciate it, but I know what you mean. Yeah. We've got a new boy now. His name is Rex. He is crazy. They said that at the shelter, they're like, well, our vet looked at him and said that he's 3. They looked at his teeth and said he's about 3 years old because he was a stray that had been brought in. We don't think he's 3. We think he's a good deal younger than that because he's crazy. Let's see here. Can Judge Dredd be played with single player with AI? That I don't know. That's a good question. I don't mind a game with crunchy rules, but I have to be in the right headspace for them at the time. Makes sense. Topeka, Kansas, played some Star Wars Legion Saturday, my current favorite. Been playing lots of Warcry and Relic Blade over lunch at work, and those are quickly becoming my most played favorites. Nice, nice. Legions Imperialis is really good, much better than I thought it would be. I thought the rules looked good. I was really kind of interested in the rules. I watched a couple of different battle reports, mostly from Ash, but other people as well. And I really liked what I saw, and then I was like, maybe I'll pull the trigger, and then you couldn't get it when it went on pre-order. It sold out in like 5 seconds, and I was like, oh, okay, well then I guess I'm not gonna. And they had it at the GW booth at LVO last week. I could have picked it up, and then I was just like, at that point, I was like, luckily the urge had passed. Could you call Bo and get him to start distributing the pre-orders? I have models that are waiting for me to wait until Fnatic comes. Since you have a bit of pull. I don't have Bo's phone number, so no, I don't think I could. And I know that they have plans on that as far as where that's all going to go. Where can we get Snarl? Pimp it. Snarlingbadger.com. Just go to snarlingbadger.com. You can find all of our games there. Walking Dead All Out War rules are simplistic but not too crunchy. They also didn't they just re-release it, or there's because they stopped making it several years ago and now all of a sudden it's back. Is it the same game or is it a different version? I don't know. I just thought it was kind of surprising to me. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh look, it's back. Good morning from Centerville, Iowa. Just finished building my first kill team and I'm making some terrain so I can get in the game next week. Nice. Not really a war game, but Tainted Grail is something I've been really enjoying as of late. I haven't heard of Tainted Grail. I'm not familiar with it. Want to get back into War Machine? Nice. Also have a copy of Rogue Stars. Haven't had a chance to play, but I want to try. That's one of those games that feels like it's a little crunchier than it ought to be, in my opinion. Same thing they also made another game, Osprey did, that wasn't in a blue book. It was in like a fancier hardcover called Scrappers. It's like a post-apocalyptic game. And I bought that and then started reading through it. And I'm like, oh, this is way more in depth than I would have thought. It's one of those kind of things. Rex, more like Rex. He does have a tendency to jump up and down into he does jump up into stuff for sure. Coming to you from the UK, where I'm painting up Forge Fathers for Mantic Firefight. Nice. I love classic Battletech. Started playing around 87, never stopped. Cool. Did Nick take a hit on the last patrol? I don't think so. That thing down the bottom there, that's the state of Wisconsin. That's the sticker of the state of Wisconsin. Yeah, that's what it is. Moonstone is a beautiful skirmish game with adorable minis and surprisingly simple rules, but deep gameplay, needless to say, is my favorite. I keep hearing about it, but I don't know anybody locally who plays it. I have a friend in Milwaukee who plays. Is this another one of those booty streams? It is not. No, I mean, I showed you my copy of Snarl here, but that didn't come home with me from Vegas. That's just something I've just was sitting on my desk. But no, this is just me talking and asking questions and answering questions, hopefully. Battletech originally got me because it was a mix of Robotech and looked like Transformers. 12-year-old me had no chance. Nice. OPR was my intro into wargaming, but played also Carnivale, and I'm mostly interested in the smallest indie games like Space Station Zero. Ever heard of it? I have heard of it. It's I've heard good things about it. Yeah, I mean, I also like indie stuff too. I mean, I also like to paint other things, and you know, probably gonna be playing some Combat Patrol at. I think we're playing some Combat Patrol at Adepticon, probably in the Army Painter booth. Also looking into Steel Rift. Looks interesting. Yeah, I'm also... That's something I want to start working on as well. I mean, I've already done and completed one entire force. If you were watching the Twitch stream on Friday, I also showed you the second force. Like, they're built, they're primed, they're even kind of zenithalled, and I want to start working on them from there, so they're kind of ready to go. Recently picked up 2 Fat Lardies. What a tanker. Great if you have many tanks in your collection. I've heard really good things about it. Very interested in Necropolis 28 right now. Looks like I won't have to buy a single new mini. That's always kind of nice, you know? Legions Imperialis. Love the rule set. The models are wicked. Wicked small. Walking Dead just got re-released. Interesting. Sometimes you just need to keep your wallet in your pocket. Also true. Mantic re-released All Out War. Cool. Northern Italy, Squad Hammer Core Forever, Nordic Weasel. I'm familiar with Nordic Weasel. Squad Hammer Core. I'd have to look that one up. I don't think I've seen that one. Been loving Verretwood. I see it frequently in the, on Wargame Vault, but I haven't. I've not picked it up. Small model count, sinister cults in a weird forest. Kit Basher's dream if you want it to be very full core. Highly recommend. That's very cool. DBA 3.0, near to a perfect war game after decades of optimization. It has been around for a while, it's true. No Adeptus Super Smolicus for me, but excited for Epic Warpath Kickstarter. That will be my 10mm game when it comes out. Nice. First time catching the stream. Well, I hope you have a good time. On a 3-hour road trip, 2 hours listening to Uncle Adam and rain. One good thing out of 3 ain't bad. Well, I hope the rain is okay. Crazy cats are a good thing. I mean, he's definitely got a lot of personality, for sure. The other cats are wary of him still. It's getting better, but slowly. I did have to close the door in here, so he will not be hopping up on the table, because just before the show started, he jumped from over there onto the table, landed on my copy of Snarl, which then did not give him good purchase, and then he slid and then almost knocked my keyboard off the table. So I was like, well, you are in crazy mode. He has a tendency to get real sleepy around 10, so about another half hour, he'll just be like, and just, and then he'll be asleep for most of lunch. But in the morning, he is crazy. Let's see here. Creator of Scrappers described the rules as crunchy but swallowable. Interesting. What games did Adam say he was playing the most right now? I didn't yet. I haven't. I would say probably Space Weirdos, but mostly these days it's been Combat Patrol and a bit of Warcry as well. I have something in my eye. Sorry. If I wasn't a regular listener asking, is this a booty stream, would hit different. You're not wrong. I get you. I totally get you. Morning from Maryland. Played an excellent game of Sharp Practice yesterday. Nice. Nice to catch a live show. I hope you're well. I hope you're well as well, Philip. Pulp Alley can use any miniatures, adapt to any theme. Skirmishy fast. Yeah, I've seen it around, not like played or anything like that, but I've seen the books and stuff like that. It's one of those things I should probably pick up. Original version of Dystopian Wars by Spartan Games was ace. Steampunk alternative history battleships with a great set of rules. Not played the new version, but I've heard excellent things about it. Yeah, it was good to see that someone brought it back. I forget who it was. Steel Rift, similar to Car Wars and Gaslands type play. No, Steel Rift is a mech game, so it's a mech game, but it's not like BattleTech is much more crunchy in comparison. Steel Rift is like the book itself is maybe 36 pages, and it's like this size. It's like a 5.5 by 8.5. It's not like a big, huge, thick book. But it's a very cool mech game. It's written by Ash from Guerrilla Miniature Games on YouTube, and it is published by Death Ray Designs. Just bought into Conquest. Their skirmish game lets you play with the really big models like the Orc T-Rex Rider. I just saw that model again at LVO. It's a great model. I wish I liked their game. I wish I liked not their games. I wish I liked rank and flank games better, because honestly, the Conquest models are getting really good. Their earliest models were a little like the sculpts were cool, but the detail on the actual molds was low. So everything came out kind of soft detail. But over the last 2 years, 3 years, they've really fixed that. So like, again, that orc riding that T-Rex is gorgeous. It's a great model with really sharp, nice detail. It's very cool. But yeah, it's still a rank and flank game, and I know that they have First Blood, which is I played a demo of it. Well, the previous version. I don't think I've played First Blood 2, but I played a demo of it at Gen Con several years back. I think it was the first Gen Con back after the pandemic started and all that kind of stuff. So that was 2022. Yeah. Or was it 2021? I don't remember. Anyway, whatever it was, I played a demo of it, and it still just did not strike me quite, but I don't know. The models were pretty dope. Pacific Rim would make a stellar settling. I thought that they had a Pacific Rim game, but I could be wrong. Favorite game is Relic Blade. Nice. Excuse me. New Dystopian Wars is pretty swell. I'm running a map campaign right now. Nice. Question for the new setup: are the audio levels low, or is anyone else just my phone quiet? I don't think the audio levels are not supposed to be low. I'm peaking when I'm talking. I'm peaking right between. Maybe it's a touch low, but I don't know. I can go to the beacon. Oh, I don't remember which of these things makes it. Mic gain's up. Output gain I could crank up a little bit. That might help a little bit, maybe not. I'm at 5.7. Let's crank it way up. Does that help at all? That's too high, probably. Is that too high? Maybe not. I don't know. We'll put it there. I hadn't messed with anything since it was in the other room, so it shouldn't be a big deal, but I don't know. It might be your phone, I guess. It might be me too, though. All right. Because, yeah, see, that's what's interesting about this mic. This is a beacon mic, which is spelled BEACN. There's no, it's missing a letter, but that's the way they do it. But the thing about the software is when you set the software for all the settings, the de-esser and the noise gate and all that stuff, it actually stores it in the microphone, which I had forgotten about. So when I came over here and plugged the microphone in and then, installed the software and was like, oh, now I gotta go through and reset that stuff. It was just like, oh, it's all right there. And it showed like the name of the profile that I already had put in there. And I was like, that's right. It stores it in the microphone. I'm like, that's pretty cool. So yeah, so far so good, but working on a Nighthaunt army, and finally I'm decent in wet blending and feathering. Well, that's pretty good. Elder Scrolls Call to Arms is one that's a lot of fun. That's by Modifius. All right, yeah. Hi from Cape Town, South Africa. First time catching this live. Well, absolutely. I hope you're having a good afternoon/evening, I think. Hello from Indy, painting up Hero Quest. I always wonder if I should do that. No new kitty action today. Bummer. He's a little crazy. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. Looking forward to diving back into Blood Bowl after Adepticon. Could a wife hotspot help the crap Wi-Fi at the con? I think Wi-Fi, a Wi-Fi hotspot. There you go. Oshkosh Public Library has them to borrow. The crap Wi-Fi at the con. At which convention? At the one that I do at TMX? Because usually it's pretty good there. Well, it's good, except that you can't stream from it. That's right. Yeah. Well, but the thing is I'm not doing. So here's the thing. I should have made a screen that pops up. So TMX, Tabletop Minions Expo, is going to happen this year. I sent in I took in the check for the deposit just before I left to go to Vegas. So it's just not going to be happening at the university this year. So there's that. It is going to be happening because the university, the last several times we've been doing it since 2017 or whatever, it's been at the Grunhagen Conference Center at the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh. The problem is that they've had a bunch of layoffs on campus, and there's a bunch of crazy stuff that's been going on, and it's a giant mess I'm not going to bother to get into. Long story short, the Grunhagen is no longer hosting events that aren't campus events, aka you are a group, a university group, and you want to have an event on their thing. Cool, but you're like a dork like me who wants to show up and pay them to have an event and everything. No more of that. So I found that out in like late November, which is great. So I found that out in late November, and so I had to scramble to find a new place. So the new place is going to be the Oshkosh Convention Center downtown. And again, this will be on the 1st and 2nd of June, 2024, this year. So the downside is that the building, on my end, it's considerably more expensive, about double in price. And also there's not dorm rooms that you can stay in upstairs for $45 a night like at the old place. So we will have a block of rooms that will be cheaper than normal price, but it'll still be like $130 a night. But you will actually have a bathroom and shower in your room instead of having to go down the hall like you're in college. So, and the rooms are nice. Actually, the building is being remodeled right now. It'll be done probably by the time, I think everything will be done by the time that our show happens, except I think the new restaurant won't be installed yet. But they're adding a new restaurant in there, or not adding, they're replacing the restaurant. There's a ground round in there right now, but they're going to be swapping that out with something that's not a chain, I guess. And that might not be done by the time we're there, but everything else will be done. The new rooms. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a Marriott. Or a Hyatt. I think it's a Marriott. Anyway, so yeah, that's in progress. I've already talked, I've posted about it on the Discord for the Patreon supporters, but I will talk about it more soon. Probably in the next 2 weeks, I'll do a thing or whatever and all that kind of stuff. And I got to update the website and all that jazz and everything. But yeah, that's where we're at right now, is that. So I had completely forgotten to talk about it, but I probably should have. So I appreciate the help there, Ralph. Morning from wet Michigan. Jumping in from my gym in Amman. How you doing? Playing Combat Patrol and Warcry, so you haven't hit the GW tipping point yet, sir? It comes down to what you got. I've painted 4 Combat Patrols so far. I'm going to be starting to work on a 5th soon. I haven't done any new Warcry stuff, but I've got plenty of Warcry stuff that I've done. Like I said in that video, I bought a new Combat Patrol recently for a project for the channel. Otherwise, I haven't bought any new GW stuff in a while, but that just, I have it, so I'm still playing it. Like, it would be weird to be like, oh, I bought all this stuff and I have it and I'm not going to play it. I want to play other stuff, but honestly, right now, the people that I play with for the most part are predominantly interested in, GW stuff. And so that's where we're at, but I would like to play some other stuff as well. Getting super hyped up for Adepticon. Signed up for the 40K friendly on Friday. Nice. Hoping to get a lot of drop-in demos around the con. Excuse me. Excuse me. Anyway, Phil, the Glacial Geek, one of the guys from the factory team, he played in the 40K friendly at LVO. He didn't play in the regular championship. I don't think he played in the 40K friendly. Yeah, it was me and Sam and then Phil. Eric, who's also on the Combat Patrol. On the factory team, he wasn't able to make LVO, but he'll be at, and Eric, when I say Eric, I mean Eric's from Eric's Hobby Workshop. He'll be at the other shows. He'll be at the Adepticon and stuff like that. Let's see here. Love Warcry, but I think they'll kill my Cities of Sigmar warband, taking some of the models from Age of Sigmar back to the old world. That's possible. I'm loving the explosion of small indie games. Feels like you can sample so much without going all in and not knowing if you will like the game. I think that's the big benefit to indie games, specifically the concept of miniature agnostic. Now, people will sometimes like to say, well, any game can be miniature agnostic. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. They all can. So, but generally, and I made a video about this a long time ago, the term miniature agnostic really refers more to the fact that there's not. It's like I said, it's almost like a warning. There's not a related line of miniatures attached to this particular game. So, you can play a Games Workshop game with whatever minis you want, unless you want to go to one of their official things, blah, 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 whatever. I've talked about this a bunch of different times. But when a game says it's mini agnostic, what it means is we didn't make any minis for this. So you got to come up with your own stuff, which I like, but some people are put off by because they're like, I don't know what to pick then. And I get that. But the benefit then is when you have skeletons, knights, space people, robots, whatever, and you pick up a new game and you're like, cool, what do I use? You'll tell you, and then you go, oh, I got some of those and some of those. Maybe you got to add things. Maybe you didn't have any 28mm tanks like you do in Snarl. Well, you pick one up and you go to town and it's a good time. But for a lot of games, if it's miniature agnostic, they're telling you to use models that you probably already have or can easily find without having to go out and buy specific. These are very specific. Dark Eldar, such and such guys, that kind of thing, whatever. Let's see here. Turned 55 2 years back and into historicals now. Playing the Lion Rampant series lately. I still love original Warcry. Nice. Have you played 1 hour skirmish war games? I've heard of 1 hour skirmish war games, but I haven't played any, I don't think. Let's see here. Moonstone, Rangers of Shadow Deep are both fantastic. My favorite is one-page rules because I'm too busy for constantly changing and complicated rules. Yeah, same here. Mantic bringing back Walking Dead is really going to get some people excited. Yeah, I can see that. Okay, there we go. Everything moved for a second on the chat and I got lost. Have the cats damaged anything gaming in your house? Mine chewed the corner of a Time Twist card from Magic the Gathering. Wasn't as devastating in the 90s as it was only worth about $10. No, because I keep them out of the basement. I mean, I guess every once in a while I have something that I haven't put in the basement yet that, but it's rare that they knock anything down. Like, they're not usually, like, Rex likes to find things and knock them on the ground, and sometimes Margot does too. If it's something small that she can play hockey with on the hardwood, then if it's on the table in the dining room especially, that she'll try to knock it down on the ground and mess around with it. But for the most part, nobody's ruined anything like that, so that's good. Writing Rank and Flank Ancients fantasy game, wanted some robust armies to run at conventions. Nice. Just came in to say hi, Uncle Adam, to answer the core question. I'm living Rain in Hell. Nice. Well, that's nice to hear. Keep finding cool demonic or devilish minis to throw into one cabal or another. Yeah, no, that's again a big benefit. Wish Combat Patrol games were a thing in my area. I've tried to get some traction with them, but my local shop, all the players want to play 2,000 point games, and I don't enjoy games that big. Yeah, me neither. Just got the Pacific Rim game. Haven't played it yet. So yeah, I thought so. River Horse. That would make sense. The River Horse would do that. They did the Terminator game. Did they also do a game for Starship Troopers? I think it might have been Mongoose. Love Conflict 47, a weird game I find people don't know about. I wish people played it around here. I really do, because I think that'd be a lot of fun. Thanks for introducing me to mini agnostic games. The ability to use any models in my collection that I want to collect is fantastic. Well, maybe not great for my wallet, but still fantastic. Well, that's good. Hello from Colorado. How you doing? Second edition 40K is the only edition worth playing, honestly. Well, I mean, that's an opinion, you know, but... Problem with the Wi-Fi hotspot is the cell service is overwhelmed and won't be helped. Sure. We got dates yet? Indeed, indeed. 1st and 2nd of June. Afternoon all from Puckle Church. My favorite game, without a doubt, is Mantic Games Kings of War. I have 28 armies painted, and wow, that's a lot of armies. Wow. Really enjoy playing tournaments and casual play. Very cool. Went to a used game sale event last Sunday. We got the 3rd edition Blood Bowl box and a matching Death Zone box. Nice. Wasteland Warfare. Nice. That's a Fallout game. No, it's not technically a minis game, although you could add them. The Undaunted system is really an excellent gaming experience. There are some games out there that have a minis vibe but don't use minis, and I would say Undaunted has got a bit of that. I get it. Modern indoor plumbing, fancy. Well, I mean, you know, technically it was indoor, but it was down the hall. Love the Fallout system, even if some folks think it's token heavy. Yeah, it is a little token heavy for me. I'll agree. Oh, I did something. There we go. Our Friday night Gaslands game was a tour de force. Everybody has a couple spectacular moments and dice rolls. That's cool. Hope that's just allergies and not the usual con crud. I literally didn't start feeling bad until this morning. It's not bad. I just, you know, I'm kind of plugged up. So it could be allergies for sure, too. I definitely am allergic to trees and the oxygen and stuff like that. So Underworlds was one of my favorites for a while, and then it just became a game I couldn't keep up with. Yeah, they did lean real heavily into the expansions and the add-ons, and then they were like, oh, geez, people are kind of angry about that. We should do the Rivals thing. So then they did the Rivals format, which was smart, but they should have started with that. But they didn't, you know. 5 Parsecs from Home, Cyborg made a game in a game scenario for friends that want to try RPG and tabletop. That's pretty cool. Played my first game of Unmatched Tales to Amaze the other day. Also an excellent system. Very cool minis for that board game. Not heard of it. Just recently picked up 5 Parsecs from Home. Looks like a lot of fun. It's well liked, you know. I mean, and Modiphius started producing it now. That one, and also 5 Leagues from the Borderlands. Enjoying skirmish mini agnostic games because I can jump around to different games and see if I like it without too much investment. I think that's the whole big benefit for sure. Later, I can paint warbands that are more themed to a game I like. Absolutely. Any expansions for Reign in Hell on the horizon? I love the game, but my group keeps saying it's dead. Nonsense. Games only die if you stop playing them. Well, have you picked up Snarl? Just FYI. Just glad that I have it here right by, but I don't normally, because in Snarl there is an expansion for Reign in Hell called The Reckoning, and in it you get an entirely new faction. So there's, a philosophy is what we call them, but it's basically a faction. So you go from having 6 philosophies to now 7, and that one's called The Faithful is the name of the new philosophy. Plus there's also 2 new missions in there as well. So yeah, if you go to snarlingbadger.com, you can find Snarl right there. Let's see. Malifaux's become my favorite skirmish game. I always wanted to like it. I played it in 2nd edition, and again, it was just a situation of like not... There was 2 problems. One was I didn't have anybody to play it with, so that was always difficult. Though I did have 2, I would try to teach people. I had 2 forces. I had Von Schill and Victoria's, and then I would, teach people how to play it. But the other thing too is that in 2nd edition, I was very confused by the rules in certain situations. Like the card mechanic and all that stuff, I got that. That made sense. It replaces the dice. That all was fine. But there were little things that I could never find a straight answer on that I couldn't, that was always kind of an issue. So it's sort of... It's hard to teach a game when you don't quite understand it yourself. I've been finding that, so yeah. Snarl just added a new philosophy. Yep. Are these made-to-order metal miniatures a retro version of FOMO? I'm still tempted because I'm a sucker for knights. I mean, I don't know what they're doing there. I don't know how it is all of a sudden they've decided to lean heavy into, like, they're having production problems, and obviously these are different parts of the same factory or different factories potentially. When they decide to make metal models, it probably doesn't affect their plastic production, but yeah, I don't know. It's really weird what's going on with them. One Hour Skirmish is a nice game system. I want to try the rules with my Z-Poc minis. Started with GW Lord of the Rings game and loved it, but after I got into 40K, I never went back. Lord of the Rings is just too simple. See, I don't have a problem with that. I got my buddy into wargaming through Space Station Zero. He got the itch now and is looking at his own minis for a crew. Nice. We're from Saskatchewan. What did I miss? Oh, things. Will there be a Kroot combat patrol? That's a good question. They would be smart to do so, but I don't know. It's a good question. Space Station Zero, you can use so many cool things for it. Oh, I saw a dog, but I didn't see a person, but the tree was in the way. Yeah, no, I could, yeah, I can understand that. Newly announced Halo game has my interest, Warhammer Fantasy, Old World, and Warcry. Busy trying to work out what to ditch. Just reminding myself I have a M113A1 T50 and need some nom soldiers for it because it seems silly to have it not have any soldiers to go with it. Gotcha. Have you mentioned Army Painter Fanatics? I'm very curious to try out. I'm looking to buy the complete set. Do you know when they might release the complete 216 set? There is a pre-order currently. I don't know where you find it. When we were at Las Vegas Open, we had a sheet with some QR codes on it. You could scan it and go there. But if you do a Google search, you'll probably find it. Or if you just check out the Fanatic page, I think maybe on the Army Painter website, you might find links there too. Currently, the pre-order is for the 216 set, and they've also got a pre-order up for the Mega set, which is like 50 colors. So I know that the retail on the 50 color is $200, and the retail on the full giant box is $760 American. Now, I did the math. That comes to about $3.62 a bottle, which is cheaper than the current $3.75 that the current old war paints sell for. So it's a good deal, but it is also a good deal of money and a good deal of paint all at once. So, there's that. For What Remains is a board game that feels like a miniatures war game without any plastic. I picked up Space Mouselings from Reaper for Space Weirdos. Definitely space and weird. See that? Yeah, exactly. That's the cool thing. Purchased a first set of Warlord comic, one that was signed by Mike Grell. Had it on a shelf before I could get it in a box. My cat shredded it and turned it into a bad nest. That's not very nice. That's a bummer. Got to get back to my Stargrave project, create a couple of crews and introduce my group to it. Sure. I just like to jump around and mix miniatures. Any game that allows this is a win to me. Wouldn't high elves and wood elves work together? I would think so. It makes sense. Catmaster, how you doing? Been a while since I was able to catch the show. I'm a lazy hobbyer on Sundays, but I'm finally here. Hope you're having a great start to the hobby week. So far, so good. I've got it, like I said, a little bit stuffed up. I don't know if it's got an allergy or a cold or what, but favorite minis game is Age of Sigmar, largely by default, as it's the only game of my interest that I can get games of at the FLGS. It'll be interesting to see what they announce at Adepticon, because my belief, and I don't know this to be true, but my belief is that the the new edition of Age of Sigmar will get announced at Adepticon, just like the new edition of 40K got announced at at Adepticon last year. So I guess they could announce it later, but I bet they don't. I bet that they will probably announce it at Adepticon. So that'll be interesting. That'll be interesting to see what they do with that. I do hope that they turn that Vanguard thing. You know what I mean? They got those Vanguard boxes that are kind of like combat patrol boxes. I really hope that they do turn that into a combat patrol style for Age of Sigmar. So you can be playing with like smaller things. Like again, like combat patrol is designed so that you are getting, it's to help you get into 40K, right? And I think if they turn that Vanguard into the same thing, where this is now helping you to get into Age of Sigmar, it would be a smart move on their part. And I could also see people being like, oh, like I could see myself being like, oh, I'll do a Vanguard or whatever, but I'm not going to do a full blown, army. So I don't know. Hopefully they'll do that. They'll do that. Concept of dead games is dumb. I agree. If you can play it, it is alive. GW has ruined people's brains to think that if there aren't constant releases, you can't play a game. That's very true. That's very true. I would say that it is definitely a GW thing. Now, if it's very difficult, like if you can't find the rules anywhere, if they stop producing them, there's no copies online for you to buy or anything like that or whatever, then that game's not particularly, then that game is very possibly, it's dead to new people. But if you own it and your friends own it and you keep playing it, then it's not dead to you. Mordheim is not dead because though you can't buy the books and the stuff anymore, there's still plenty of people playing because there's the like living document PDF that you can find online. So yeah, that game, in my opinion, is not dead. Like I said, right now, in New England somewhere, I forget exactly where, Connecticut, Massachusetts, one of those states, the biggest Mordheim event in the world is going on. It's the New England Mordheim Open, NEMO, and it's going on right now, run by the folks from the Hive Scum podcast. And like I said, I would have liked to have been there. I think Whittle Goblin is there. I think she got invited. But the problem was it was like literally the weekend after Vegas, and I was just like, probably shouldn't, travel 2 weeks in a row like that. But we will see. Maybe for next year. The metal spinniest machines at GW are different than plastic. Oh, yeah, for sure. No, like the plastic injection is a huge thing, and then they do the spin casting for metal. So I'm sure it's different departments. Absolutely. But it is odd that they're kind of like sort of focusing on it and pushing it. Like if you look here on the, like this is the big, made to order in the world of legend. Like that's the big story for today right now. I mean, well, that might be yesterday's story actually, but, yeah, no, it's yesterday's story, but still, I don't know. It's just weird. You know what I mean? And it's interesting. They're going to have a European leg of the Golden Demon at Essen Spiel. That's interesting to me too. So yeah, but I am. I mean, I guess it's good that they're doing that, I suppose. But it'll be interesting to see how this year's Adepticon Golden Demon goes. That'll be I think interesting. Let's see here. Is Snarling Badger open to community submissions for philosophies for Reign in Hell that could be published in future issues of Snarl? Not that I know of. We haven't really talked about that at all. Well, I mean, we've talked about whether we want to talk about it, and we've not so far. I don't know what the legalities would be for community submissions and all that kinds of stuff. I don't know if it's a thing we want to put in Snarl down the road, but maybe. But currently, we don't have any plans for it, no. I don't know if it's already been said, but my favorite game is Laser Burn. You can play it crunchy or light, and it fits so many sci-fi games. I don't think I've heard of Laser Burn. That's interesting. Gave up on 40K in 2017 after 25 years. Found new life for my 40K armies by picking up one-page rules Grimdark Future. Couldn't be happier. Yeah, exactly. If you've got a bunch of those models from GW for playing years of 40K and you're tired of 40K, Grimdark Future is a good idea. Michael Strange, how you doing? Chilly, damp, rain-soaked Blue Ridge Mountains. Haven't caught a live show in a while. Well, it's good to see you. Absolutely. Yeah, it's not crazy chilly. It's a little bit above freezing right now here, but it has been gray for a week plus. Plus, the entire time I was in Vegas, there was no sun either, so that was kind of a bummer. Literally, the only sun that I remember seeing was when I was leaving Wisconsin to go to Vegas. It was bright and sunny, yet somehow my flight was canceled. There was weather elsewhere, is what happened, but yeah. So getting out there was a little bit hard, but my flight back was way easier. Whereas Phil, the Glacial Geek, his flight back to Atlanta was like he basically his flight left almost a day later than he was supposed to because there was weather in Chicago, I guess, on Monday. I don't know. It was crazy. Luckily, he didn't have to sit in the airport the entire time. But he found out his flight was canceled before he left the hotel. So he just, did Vegas stuff and walked around and whatever, and then went to the airport like at 11 o'clock at night or something like that. And then, got home at 11 in the morning the next day. The red eye was not great. I need to order Majestic 13 and Snarl. Love giving support. Well, I appreciate that. Absolutely, Tyler. Good day to stay inside and go into painting mode. Yeah. I'm going to be doing some more hobbying. I did some yesterday. Excuse me. And then this afternoon, after we get back from my in-laws, my plan is I've got some stuff I need to prime for working on for Twitch. I'm going to start a new project, I think, tomorrow. So yeah, I'll be doing some of that. And I also worked on some painting stuff a little bit yesterday, but I've also got it. Like I said, I got to get some stuff ready to prime. And I also did some building yesterday. I was kind of all over the board. Promised myself this year I would limit myself to only 261 miniatures games. Got to rein myself in. Well, that's understandable. Middle-earth has some amazing depth of strategy considering how the rules aren't very complex. That's the thing, is that the rules don't need to be super complex and crunchy to make them good. You know what I mean? Like, I like a game that I've enjoyed for years is called Song of Blades and Heroes, and it is a very simple game to teach. I teach it at conventions from time to time, and it's a simple game to teach, but it has like an elegance to it and a complexity of like strategy where you're like, because it's all about how many dice you roll. When you want to activate a figure in your skirmish army, you can roll 1, 2, or 3 dice, right? So let's say that this person that you want to activate, they have a quality of, let's say, 3+. That's a pretty good quality. That means on a 3 or higher, that's a success for them to activate. But on a 1 or a 2, they don't. But if they have a 4 up quality, well, then it's a 50-50, right? So if you roll 1 die and it's not a success, okay, well then, that guy doesn't get to activate. But now you get to pick another guy from your team and then try to activate them. And you can also roll, again, 1 die. But if you roll 2 dice, you have twice the chances to get a success. You possibly might even get 2 successes and you could do 2 actions. The problem is if you ever on a single roll 2 failures, your turn ends and it goes back to your opponent. So you're pushing your luck. Like if you roll 1 die, it is impossible for you to roll 2 failures on a single die. So you won't have to worry about that. You can try to get, nope, didn't do it. Okay, next guy, nope. But if you roll, I've seen people play and they've got like 5 guys on their team, and on the first guy they roll 2 dice. They roll 2 2s or 2 1s or 2 3s or whatever the quality is, and then okay, well I don't get to do anything, and it's back to you. So you're pushing your luck in that way. It's very simple and easy to pick up once you get the hang of it, but there's a depth to it where you're making these choices. And like the last guy in your group, let's say you have 5 models. When you get to the 5th model, well, then roll 3 dice, because even if you get 2 failures, if you still get at least 1 success, you'd still get to do it, and then it would end your turn. But your turn's ending anyway because that's your last guy. So it's things like that. I don't need to have 28 different stats for each of my models and stuff like that I have to keep track of. In that game, you literally have, for the most part, 2 stats. You have quality and you have combat. And then sometimes you have special rules, like large or fast or things like that kind of affect the way that like it's large models don't get cover maybe, or you can always shoot a large model even if they're in cover. I don't know. There's all, I forget. It's been a while since I played, but it's one of those games too. You can skim through real quick if you've been playing it, or if you've played it in the past and be like, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. And I think there's a big benefit to that. Any one-page rules at Adepticon or any other convention? I know they were planning on doing more conventions this year, but I don't know if there's anything going on at Adepticon this year. I haven't really looked at the event thing other than our event to see how well it was selling, and currently it's sold out, so that's cool. There's like 30 tickets for our event, so. Let's see here. Is that a Geiger counter over your right shoulder? Yes. Yeah. It doesn't work. But I bought it. I saw somebody posting about it on where you could get these Geiger counters. It was like $30 or whatever. And I was just like, oh, that'll be cool. So I picked one of those up. But like I said, I don't think it's ever been used, and it doesn't have a battery. But I don't know. Maybe you could get a battery for it. I don't know. There's a sticker on there about how it was like most recently inspected in the 90s, I think. New glasses, just different glasses. My normal glasses are these, and these glasses are short focus. So with these glasses, I have to like lean way back to kind of see this close, and so I have like glasses I use on the computer and glasses that I don't. They're just different colors so that I know which ones are which. That being said, I really need to go get an eye exam because both of these now I need new prescriptions. It's getting older. Better lighting due to windows. I mean, that's true. The sunroom and stuff like that. Yeah, it's generally better light. Although, like I said, it's pretty gray today. So I had to turn on this little overhead light, this little key light from Elgato, because otherwise it looks like this in here, which is, a bit darker. It's not bad, but it's this gives it a little bit more something, but it's slight. What's that light set to? 11%. So it could go a lot brighter. But then I would blind myself probably, so I don't want to do that. Middle Earth is probably some of my favorite ally mechanics in the game. Heard Old World has it too. Interesting. So you're skipping the Old World FOMO bandwagon hype train? Oh yeah, no, I'm not interested in. I don't like rank and flank games, so there's been no interest on my part in the in any of the Old World stuff. There was a part of me that's like, when they eventually come out with just a box of the old skeletons, I might buy a box just for nostalgia, and it'd be kind of fun to paint them up. But honestly, I already have a bunch of the old skeletons already painted up and everything like that. So, and to be perfectly frank, the new skeletons are way better. I mean, again, there's some nostalgia about how big their heads are, the old skeletons, and how big their hands are. But I think I don't know. I think maybe I'm good. On the subject of cats versus gaming, Shop asked about how our cats love drinking paint water. Ooh, stepping in paint pellets. Yeah, see, that's the thing too. The cats don't get to go in the basement, so then therefore they don't mess with my my stuff down there. The summer should be the new Age of Sigmar edition, since Dawnbringer stuff is the blow up this edition series. Yeah. Coastal Virginia always have stuffy nose and take Claritin all year long. I do take an allergy pill, I think a Zyrtec, but like a store brand Zyrtec. I take one every day, mainly because I'm allergic to cats and like lots of other things. And yet here we have a bunch of cats. So there you go. Molly, how you doing? Heard it's going to be Skaven versus Sigmarites. Does it always have to be the Sigmarines in there? Like, can we just... Skaven's cool. I'd like to see new Skaven, but if that new box could have something else other than, bright gold boys, I would be fine with it. But what are you going to do? Anything even slightly fantasy leaves a bad taste in my mouth from GW. I still have bad feelings about discontinuing Warhammer Fantasy. Well, that's a bummer. There's a difference between a dead game and a solved game. Min-maxing can lead to a game getting incredibly stale and unfun, but that's a people issue, not a game issue. Yeah, I could see that. Mordheim has Broheim. You can get the rules all of the town criers as PDFs. You get loads of proxy options. The community is thriving. It is. Any opinions about Golden Demon going to Essen, Germany this year? I mean, it just seems like they're spreading it out. It makes sense. Because they're still going to have it in the UK, right? Like they're going to have a UK one and an Essen one and the Adepticon one. So like if they were like, look, we're going to do it in Europe and not do it in the US, I'd be like, oh, well, I wouldn't actually care, but some people would probably be unhappy about it. I could see that. Did you ask Rex if he worships Gork and Mork just to get a feel for his level of crazy? I haven't. I should. They said somewhere that the old world made-to-order models are on a rotation. It'd be nice if that was the case, but you got to see it first to believe it. Sure. Even though I still haven't played a game yet, too busy painting mine. Excuse me. And everyone else's models. I think it's silly to call it a board game. Which one? I love Bat Reps and Mordheim, looking to make a vampire clan Mordheim. Nice. Right outside my door. Definitely going to be there this year. Well, that's cool. Call a board game dead. What I meant was like last time Risk, Monopoly, or the game. Oh, I mean, Lord knows that there are new versions of Risk. There was a sci-fi version of Risk called Risk 2210 or something like that. It took place in like you could go up and like take over parts of the moon, if I remember correctly. There's they keep making new editions of like, Axis and Allies. There's like, 1942, there's like a Pacific one, there's a Europe one. There's a lot of, it's, so these companies are constantly putting out, even those types of games, they still put out new editions and stuff like that because they would like it if you would buy that edition as well. Thank you. But yeah, I don't know. Laserburn is now available from Revesco, the Tin Soldier Company, known as the game that would not die. Huh. Laserburn's from the early 80s. Oh, goodness. Okay. The very best game is the one that you're excited for before you've played, when you're prepping everything and thinking about how cool it will be just before you play it and get tabled. Sure, I get that. War Cradle needs love too, especially with Armored Clash being released. I don't think I've heard of Armored Clash. I've heard of War Cradle. I know those folks, but I don't think I know anything about Armored Clash. After the work I did yesterday, my hands are too banged up and arthritic for hobby stuff today. Jammed a silver under one of my fingernails. A sliver, not a silver. That would be weird. That does sound bad. I don't want that. Let's see here. I'd say previously play a lot of 40k and Age of Sigmar, but now I find myself playing a Horus Heresy and getting back in the old world, having been a fantasy guy since 3rd edition. Gotcha. Haven't been a huge number of new codices for chess in recent years, but I hear its replay value is high. True. How did Tanks for the Apocalypse demo at LVO work out? We didn't end up doing that. There was no demos at LVO for Tanks for the Apocalypse. There's a gaming table in the Army Painter booth, but it was predominantly set up for there was a couple of different games of 40k that got played on there, like regular full-blown, like 2,000 points. Adam, if you've seen Army Painter's videos, you've probably seen Adam. He's the American that you see in those videos. He was playing his guard army against Glacial Geek, who was playing his, I think him. Dark Angels. He's a big Dark Angels fan, and Glacial Geek was playing Dark Angels in the friendly, but I'm pretty sure that Adam was playing his guard in the championship. Favorite game hands down is Middle-earth SBG. Models, setting, rules, it's also good. I'm interested in battle companies to some degree. Like, I don't know if I want to play a full-blown game, but like battle companies being a lot smaller and more skirmishy, I'm kind of interested in. I'm a little bummed that you need to still buy like at least 3 books to play that. That's a bummer, but that's GW, you know. Has there been any news on the Game of Thrones skirmish game that was announced? I remember hearing the announcement for it and it seemed to go silent. Yeah, I remember hearing about that too, but I don't remember who's making it. Does anyone remember who's making the Game of Thrones one? because it's not the Age of or it's not the Age of or Song of Ice and Fire. That's Cool Mini or Not. That's a different thing altogether. But there's also a Game of Thrones skirmish that did get announced. I can't think of who's doing it though. Let's see here. Love simple rules. That sounds fun. Sure. Do you have a Geiger counter? Mine's in the shop. What's your favorite source for 32 millimeter modern military operators for, say, Majestic 13 or Zona Alpha? Probably gonna be Wargames Atlantic. They've got a set called Oorah, which I believe is spelled OOH space RAH, Oorah. And yeah, so that's Wargames Atlantic. And those are the ones I used for my Majestic 13 stuff. They would also work, I think, relatively well for Zona Alpha as well. You have Virtual Boy and a Geiger counter. If you had an HGTV decorating show, I'd watch it. Well, I appreciate that then. Selling you what you bought 30 plus years ago, yeah. Having a blast building Age of Sigmar Chaos Warriors for Old World Square bases are in the mail. Thanks. The great content over the years has been so helpful on my hobby journey. Well, that's good to hear, Nikki. Would Marvel Crisis Protocol count as a war game? Yes, I would say so. I mean, it's certainly a miniatures game. And you could say it's a miniatures war game, even though it's really not about war per se. You know, like soldiers fighting soldiers, but it's pretty close. It's my favorite tabletop game. That's cool. Never been able to get into high model count games due to time constraints. I can totally understand that for sure. I really like the Cursed City skeletons. Yeah, they're really good too. If they bring out those old skeletons, I could restock my basing materials. Nice. Yeah, I can see that too. That's a good point. They're still a little thick, you know, but yeah. The old rank and flank I liked was War Master, the fantasy version of Epic. Made large units easy and lots of monsters to give the right fantasy feel. Could see that. Interested in 3D printing some War Master Tomb Kings and Bretonians at 15mm. Use them to play Warhammer the Old World. Already built, easy to paint, and fits on a kitchen table. I can see that. There's a lot of folks that are making like small scale games. Like they're using 3D printing to make like, oh, I'm going to play 40K, but I'm going to play it like small scale just so that it doesn't take as much space, which I get. It makes a lot of sense. Is it possible that you might be allergic to snow mold right now? Is that a thing? Snow mold? Ugh, that sounds terrible. Probably. Allergy and sinus medication always sounds like a wizard. Zyrtec, Allegra. I mean, it kind of, yeah, sounds like something a wizard would do with a cane, with a, wand. Essen is the biggest show in Europe. Essen's the biggest show in the world as far as gaming, tabletop gaming. Essen's the biggest in the world. The second biggest is Gen Con. Gen Con's the biggest in the States at 70,000. But yeah, Essen's bigger than that. I love a simple miniatures game called Terminator Genesis miniatures game made by Riverhorse in 2016. It's easy to play, fun, and there's a big Facebook community. Nice. My local shop used to have a copy of it on the shelf for years and years and years and years. I don't know what happened. Maybe somebody did eventually buy it. I've also seen, is his name Dave? I think his name might be Dave from MS Paints. He's talked about it a little bit. Risk 2210 AD. There you go. That's the one I was thinking of. Risk has made additions now. I thought they just did reskin stuff like Monopoly. I mean, they do a little bit of that too, but they also do some different versions. Yeah. Risk 2210 is actually really cool. There's nothing in the releases of Warhammer that's done recently that makes me want to rush out and buy any of it. Sure. I mean, some people have, but yeah, I get what you mean. Running Space Station Zero to a friend's house soon. Yours and Vince's games work best for best entry for tabletop, if not Majestic and Kill Sample, to see what he likes. Nice. Risk Legacy is cool. Risk Legacy is basically kind of, at least I could be wrong on this, but I feel like Risk Legacy was what started the legacy craze in board gaming. So what, if you don't know what that means, Risk Legacy came out, and it was a Risk game that was kind of a modern or near future style kind of theme, but there were things that would happen in the game that would then like instruct you, okay, we'll go into the box and pull out this envelope and peel it open, and now there's like maybe some stickers in there, and then those stickers are things that you put on the board, and then next time that you play Risk, those stickers are in play. Like as you were, it's not like a campaign because you keep playing the same game over and over again, but as you play it, things happen. There are certain cards that you tear up because you're not using them anymore, and stuff like that. So it is a game that you buy, and it was, in board game terms, it was a little inexpensive. It was, and you could get it at places like Target and Walmart and online and stuff like that or whatever. But and some people will be like, well, yeah, but I paid for this game. I'm not going to like only play it a finite number of times. And I'm like, how many board games have you played more than 10 times? You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure there are some, obviously. Catan, if you're really into that kind of stuff. But there's a lot of board gamers out there who have a whole big pile of board games behind them that don't really play most of those more than a couple of times tops. So I believe the idea was you could play through Risk Legacy, I don't know, a dozen times, 15 times before like everything was kind of like opened and stickered and all that kind of stuff. But it kind of started a trend in gaming, and you started to see a lot of other games, Pandemic Legacy, stuff like that, which was kind of interesting, I thought, of just this kind of concept of like, let's make it so the game has only got a finite number of plays, and then it's like used up, sort of. It becomes almost a consumable, which is also maybe a capitalism thing, but whatever. I got Risk 2210, and I'm still trying to get my group to give it a go. The fact that there are a set number of turns seems to unnerve them. On Cats versus Gaming, I won a Best Army at tournament with GW prizes. Probably took my Skaven bus home and had my kitten knock it off a table so it shattered. That's not good. Well, kittens and rats, they're probably not a big fan. Game that I'm really excited about coming this year, Star Trek Into the Unknown with pre-painted. Supposedly all the ships will be in scale with each other like Star Trek Attack Wing. Unlike Star Trek Attack Wing. Gotcha. I haven't even heard about that. How you doing, Lee, by the way? Battle companies and the leveling system. Wargames need more RPG elements in general. It's great. Yeah, I mean, we do that on most of our games too. There are technically in Snarl, there are some. There's a very simple kind of like, there's post-game process. So there's a very simple kind of campaign, even in this game. Little bit. You can get some upgrades. You can roll for upgrades and things like that. But Majestic 13 has campaign mode where you can be, in between each game you're doing stuff and learning things, or maybe dying and then getting a clone, and maybe your clone isn't great, or maybe it's a good copy, maybe it's not a good copy, that kind of stuff. And we did the same thing with Space Station Zero and also with Rain and Hell. We like the campaign thing where stuff changes over time, and I feel like that gives it a bit of an RPG element, but not like a Dungeons and Dragons RPG element, but more like a video game RPG element. We're like, oh, I've got experience points, and I'm going to be able to beef up my strength or beef up my stealth ability or whatever, that kind of stuff. So it's a little bit more like one of those types of games as opposed to what you would consider role-playing Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, etc. My favorite game is still Lunar from Blackside Studios. Nice. Chiming in a little bit late, but I recently got into playing Fallout Wasteland Warfare. Excellent for Fallout and Skirmish Wargame fans. Nice. Do Geiger counters have an isotope in them to work? Wondering if so, was it decommissioned? That I don't know, and I also don't know. Just joined. How's it going? My favorite war game at the moment is OPR. Nice. Also, bound to say Warband Fantasy. Had heaps of fun with DBM DBX many years ago. I don't think I know what Warband Fantasy is. Race for the Moon and fourth round Risk never fail. No isotope, never mind. Well, that's good. Not sure about Mini Skirmish, but Tiny Epic have a Game of Thrones coming. Is that what I'm thinking of? Maybe. At the moment, I'm really looking. Ravage Star is a good rule set that is forming up well. Ravage Star. Oh, from Dave. Well, from Mini Wargaming. Yeah. Ravage Star. Yep. I'm like, why do I know that name? I was thinking of Rebel Moon, which was that Zack Snyder movie, which looks pretty good, but the writing is not great. Trying to decide if I should leave the shields off these Dark Elf Spearmen before I paint them. For me, leaving shields off comes down to a couple different things. How big is the shield? How much is it like blocking so it's hard to paint? And also, how easy is it to keep the shields separate? Sometimes they just have there's like a dent in the front of the arm and the shield just glues into that. Maybe there's like a little, spot. And so then it's usually pretty simple. But if it's like, if they make it difficult and the arm is molded into the shield, or there's sometimes it's hard to do. So it all depends on how easy it is to do, to glue that shield on, later. And also depends on how big of a shield is. Like the big tower shields that the old Chaos Warriors from Fantasy used to carry in front of them, those I kept off separate because they blocked so much of the model. But with the new Chaos Warriors from Slaves to Darkness, they don't hold their shields right in front of them anymore because they're not rank and flank models. They're kind of much more dynamically posed and doing like this for some reason. And so then you don't have to worry about keeping the shields off because their shield's like way the heck over here where it's not doing anything. Unless they're being shot from behind, I guess. I don't know, but they have there's a lot of guys doing this in that whole that whole setup. They're cool models, but yeah, they definitely went from being I need to be on a 25 millimeter square or 20 millimeter square to being I've got all this room for activities. So there's that. Heard anything about God Tier? Not in a while. I'm familiar with it, but not in a while. Mention of Ura reminded me that I picked up a book for skirmish game called Charlie Don't Surf. Gonna give it a go. I've not heard of that one. My favorite is Polyversal. 6mm sci-fi, has army builder and can use any mini. Not heard of that either. Thinking of doing Wargames Atlantic Greek Skeletons as a Tomb King force. I could see that. Tanks look a bit dumb in a 40k game sometimes. I see what they're doing there, but yeah, no, I can understand what you're talking about. Sometimes you're like, boy, there's a lot of tanks here for how many guys we have. You know what I mean? Tanks should very frequently be fewer and far between, but I went to Nemo yesterday. Oh, cool. I first heard about it from your stream a couple of weeks ago. It was very inspiring to see all the cool boards. Yeah, from what I understand, the boards are supposed to be amazing. Thanks for letting me know about it. Such a cool event. Well, I'm glad you had a good time. And like I said, I hope to go myself eventually. Snow mold is a type of fungus and a turf disease that damages or kills grass after snow melts, typically in late winter, from a quick lookup. Okay, well, I hope I'm not allergic to that, but it could be. Are there any good sci-fi fantasy mashup agnostic games? So it's fantasy and sci-fi together? Nah, not that I know of. Risk Mass Effect is really good. I didn't even know about that. Night Models made the announcement that they have acquired the license for Game of Thrones. Oh, yeah. Night Models are the Batman guys, right? They made the Batman miniature game? That makes sense. Okay. Yeah, I knew it was somebody like that. Somebody I'd heard of, but I'd never played any of their stuff. Has anyone played that Street Fighter miniatures game Angry Joe put out a while back? No? Not that I have. I mean, I'd like to try out Frostgrave. Reminds me of Mordheim. I think it's by design, honestly. I really think that Joseph McCullough, who wrote Frostgrave and Stargrave and whatnot, I really think he wanted to make a new Mordheim. And honestly, Frostgrave works pretty well as a new Mordheim, in my opinion, and here's why. The biggest problem with Mordheim, other than the fact that you obviously can't get any stuff anymore, but you can get around that and kit bash and do whatever you want and have a great time with that stuff. The biggest problem in my mind with Mordheim is back when we used to kind of play, we would have like, to some degree, house rules about what groups you could and couldn't play. Because there were always groups that were like overpowered and like uneven, and it's a Games Workshop game. It's just the way it works. The other issue was that if you were playing, let's say, Reichlanders, and then you wanted to play Possessed, it was a total start over as far as all of your models were concerned. With Frostgrave, you have your Wizard and your Apprentice, and let's say you've gone with Necromancer, so they're both Necromancers, cool, or maybe Elementalist or whatever. If you decide, and then your hench people are hench people. You've got Thief, Thug, Templar, bowman, crossbowman, like all kinds of stuff like that. And so when you decide, let's say, I've been playing this necromancer group for a while. I want to do elementalists. You just swap out your wizard in your apprentice. Your hench people are interchangeable amongst all the different types of wizards. So it's not a situation of like, if I want to play a new warband, I have to start over and buy all new models and like paint all new models and all that stuff. You can just be like, cool, I'm going to swap these two guys out with these guys. Boom, new group. And I like that a lot. It gives a much more modularity kind of thing to it. Now, here's the reason they're doing that. It's because for the most part, they're not selling you the models. I mean, admittedly, they do make Frostgrave models and stuff like that, but that's not their main focus. Whereas GW, their main focus was like, oh, we need to sell more models. So if you want to switch teams, you need to buy all new models. And so I kind of like that they've gotten rid of that, and because of that, also things seem a lot more balanced, I think, in Frostgrave too. So I appreciate Frostgrave for both of those things. Risk Godstorm was awesome. I think I heard about that. Instead of the moon, you could go to Hades. Oh, that's kind of cool. Kings of War, low meta, figure agnostic, super friendly player base. Not flare base. That sounds bad. That doesn't sound friendly at all. Like I have a flare base. But no base in my area. And trying to grow a local group right as old world premieres is very unlikely. I can see that. Batman miniature game is my favorite miniature game, and I've never played it. Huh. Anyone ever played Demon Ship from Blackside Studios? I'm curious about this. I own it. I have not gotten a chance to build it yet, though. But it is made by my friend Malev, and I like him, so... Me and 4 friends played the full run-through Risk Legacy and treated it like a sports pool. We all threw in $30, bought the game, and the winner took the remaining cash. Nice. This new game called The Consortium is really great. Just came out like a month ago on Amazon and Wargame Vault. Miniatures agnostic fantasy skirmish level, really unique. Not heard of that either. Kings of War really rings my bell, but I just can't find a group. Yeah, that's always kind of a bit of a thing. Blue 9, how you doing? Slept in, but happy. Yeah, we can't really sleep in these days because Rex definitely likes to get up around 6:30 or 7 and just start causing havoc. So sleeping in hasn't been that much of a thing these days. Got to try Nuclear Renaissance going this year, if nothing else. That's kind of cool. It's a cool name. Still like classic Ogre Miniatures by Steve Jackson. They just had a Kickstarter. Season 4, Series 4, something like that. I swear I saw emails about it. Rainy Tampa, Florida. How you doing? Really anxious to buy a 3D printer so I can enhance my Man of War collection with some new ship types. Cool. Back to the hobby after many years. Played in the 90s. Both 40K and Fantasy Battle. Just love all the new models GW makes. Best in the business. Working on armies for 40K and Age of Sigmar. Nice. I love Relic Blade. I love Himetsu. I love Moonstone. I get that. Yeah. Favorite game? Have you heard of a little game called BattleTech? No, I don't think so. That was a joke, by the way. Quick search for Star Trek Into the Unknown shows detailed ship minis on Armada-like bases. Not much info otherwise. I wonder when that'll come out. OPR is great for former GW addicts. I've recycled pretty much my entire collection. I think that's a big target to them. That's a big portion of what they're trying to do, is they're trying to make it so that, people will be interested in, you're like, well, I have all these models, but I'm tired of the game or whatever the deal is. And then this other game comes along that says, hey, you can use all those models. We made stats for them. And then you're like, oh, cool. I think that's a big portion of it. But then they're also trying to diversify out too and say, look, you can also do this and you can do that. And, that kind of stuff, which makes a lot of sense. They also have their own models and everything. So, yeah. Gorgeous and Bad is a good review for a Rebel Moon. Yeah. Battle Beyond the Stars is a far superior and funner than Rebel Moon. I don't think I know that movie. Infinity Code 1 is just hard to beat for me right now in terms of gameplay. Fast, reactive, never feels like you're out of the fight. Well, that's cool. Finally caved in and bought a 3D printer and wash curing station. Right now it feels like a regret as I barely have time for normal hobby, but I'm sure that will change when I'm printing bits and figs. Yeah, I could see that. Looking forward to Mike Hutchinson's Hobgoblin. I really wanted to like it. Like, I really wanted to like, because it's illustrated by Crom, who I really like Crom's work. Mike Hutchinson did Gaslands. I'm interested in that. But it was a rank and flank game, so it's kind of not for me, right? But I hear good things. If you're into rank and flank, I would definitely check out Hobgoblin. But if you're not, well, maybe still check it out because maybe you're just never tried a rank and flank. I have tried rank and flanks. I don't particularly like them, but still, maybe they'll make Hobgoblin Skirmish someday. That would be something I would look at. I love Infinity models, but the game rules I find inscrutable. Yeah. I've said this a bunch of times. I feel like sometimes the rules are written by a person who's never played a wargame before. Like, like so much of it is like alien almost in comparison to a lot of other wargames I've played. Like I said, I've done like probably at least three demos, I think. I've not done a demo of the new edition, which is what, N4? I don't think I've done a demo of N4, but I did at least one demo of N2 and I think 2 of N3. And just every time I would do it, the person would be doing it and teaching me and stuff, and I'd be like, wait, that's how that works? And they're like, yeah, that's how that works. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense, Like, the cover rules are so screwy to me. You're like, oh, well, I ran up the side of this wall, and there was a little crack in, like, a little tiny window that you could see me in, so you get to shoot me as I run past this tiny little window, and I don't get cover, even though you could barely see me through this tiny little window, because when I stopped, I didn't end up within an inch of this ledge. So it just like stuff like that. And the fact that you roll low all the time, that doesn't bother me, except for the few times that you have to roll high, which may have changed in the 4th edition. I think I heard somebody say that the armor rules have changed. I don't know. It's just, it doesn't seem like it's for me. And like Sam was playing it for a while, but I don't think he's played in quite some time. This is the first time I've been able to make it here, and my favorite game is Heavy Gear Blitz. It's 12mm scale combat, combined arms wargame skirmish game with mechs, tanks, infantry, and support. I'm familiar with Heavy Gear, and I even have played Heavy Gear Blitz at least once, I think. But welcome. I hope you're having a good time of day where you are. Bushido Risen Sun and Mythic Americas. Mythic Americas was Warlord, but now they think they're independent, right? That's the one with the, like more indigenous kind of American, stuff. I remember seeing that at Gen Con. I think I saw it at Gen Con. 40K with lots of tanks on the and knights on the table makes me think epic games, but played in a totally unpractical scale. Yeah, no, for sure. Like that's, I think, the benefit of games like Legion Imperialis is because then you can go tank heavy, but you're not having to like bring too many, like everything's way smaller and more manageable. At least it makes sense to me. I found Frostgrave pretty boring, but I do think it succeeded solely because it was snatched up as the Mordheim replacement. See, I like Frostgrave. Frostgrave and Stargrave both I like. You could try mash up the Morkborg universe tabletop games, Forbidden Psalm and the Cyberpunk one use the same mechanics, so might play together. True, if you're going to do the sci-fi and fantasy thing, they're basically the same rule set. Kill Sample Process has more... How am I trying to say this? Kill Simple Process has got, I think, a bit more crunch to it than... Because the first one was Forbidden Psalm. And then Last War was the alternate World War I game. And that added more features and a bit more crunch. And then Kill Sample Process was the next one after that, which has added even, more, I think, some crunch as well. Tanks being few and far between, this is often my problem with Flames of War. Love the scale and setting, but so often becomes a tank parking lot and it ruins the historical setting and accuracy. I will be very frank with you. When I played Flames of War, I wanted as many tanks as possible and as little infantry as possible because I didn't like building and painting infantry, and I enjoyed painting the tanks. So yeah, that's me. I'm the problem. It's me. I was excited for Golem Arcana. Oh, is it Golem Arcane or Golem Arcana? Golem Arcana, I remember, it was that pre-painted game with the little Bluetooth thing, and you played it with an iPad. I loved that game. I own, at this point, still too much of it. It's down in the basement, and I should probably just get rid of it. Why is the neighbor coming over? But yeah, so that's kind of a thing there. But yeah, that game's been out of production for a while now. I don't even know if the app still works. Best replacement for Mordheim is one-page rules, Age of Fantasy Skirmish, adding in the campaign optional rules. It does the job perfectly and makes for a great campaign game. Interesting. I love Heavy Gear Blitz. It's just great. I'm on the pod squad to help the word out for it. Nice. A friend of mine was really big into the original Heavy Gear. Like, he had all the books and was super, super into it. And I played the Heavy Gear video games. There was Heavy Gear and Heavy Gear 2 on the PC. I think I remember playing both of those. My gaming group likes to break out Savage Blades as our end of night game, and we always end up playing it far too late into the night. Simple rules and great fun. Nice. Frostgrave Stargrave is great, but I only have one problem with it. The D20 is just way too swingy in play, and I can't get my Wargame buddies into it. That's a bummer, because it's a really great game. I don't mind swingy. Sometimes things are swingy. You know what I mean? It's just a lot of fun. I think that adds to fun. So, yeah, I do enjoy D20s and things like that. I've heard that before from other people. They're like, oh, it's too swingy. And I'm like, well, so's a six-sider. It's just less granular. You know what I mean? Like, you could roll a 1, or you could roll a 6. That's also swingy. My cat doesn't move until the feeder goes off. Ah, gotcha. Really enjoying Blood Bowl Season 2. Small number of models, no pretense to being balanced. My favorite miniature war games are probably Stargrave and any other fun skirmish games. Gotcha. Haley, how you doing? Thinking of taking the 3D print plunge. Is it plug and play now? Don't have time for another hobby. It is a bit more plug and play than it was before, but it's not exactly, I don't think, still plug and play. From what I understand, resin is easier. Resin is a bit more plug and play than FDM, but it's a lot stickier and more chemicals. Sometimes it's water wash, whatever. But like FDM, if everything goes poorly, you have spaghetti. Like, you come down and look at your 3D printer and there's just like sometimes it happens where it just doesn't, something happens and whatever, and then you just get filament everywhere, which is relatively easy to just sort of pick up and throw in the garbage. With the resin stuff, if your FEP screen, whatever, that little film, if that like gets a hole and it leaks, it becomes a real pain in the butt. So there's that too. I wouldn't say either of them are plug and play. I would say that they're definitely better than they were. Like, when 3D printers, when like resin printers first started coming out and people could buy them at their homes, you had to figure out your own like wash station and your own like, UV curing solution. There were people that were making stuff out of UV, LEDs that they were getting off of Amazon, or those things that you put your fingers in when you're like doing the UV on your nails. And there's like all kinds of crazy stuff like that. And now those companies who make the printers are also like, oh, by the way, we also make wash stations. We make all this stuff, so you don't have to like, get super crafty, which is fine. But yeah, I wouldn't say any of them are particularly plug and play. Hell, paper printers still aren't plug and play. Like, I have to fight with our laser printer upstairs every once in a while, like when I want to use it once every quarter. It still won't see anything else in the house wirelessly, which is why we bought a wireless one. So I have to I have to put a PDF on a thumb drive, take it upstairs to my wife's computer, plug it into it. Or, I could email it to her, I suppose, if she's home. But if she's not, I don't have access to her email. So yeah, I have to put a thing on a thumb drive, walk it upstairs, plug it in there, and then print. And this is an HP. This is not like some rando brand of printer. It's just, yeah, paper printers still suck. So 3D printers, are not particularly plug and play. I'd love to try Lunar and Turnip 28, but nobody around me plays it. Luckily, I just found someone near me who plays Forbidden Psalm. Well, that's cool. Last War, nice. Where was I? I think I just moved. The only sci-fi mixed fantasy genre that I can think of right now is Shadowrun. Yeah, they should have made a Shadow. I mean, they kind of made a Shadowrun miniatures game, sorta, but it was really more of a action figure game. But Crom cares not for the affairs of men. Not best not to attract his attention. It's different Crom, but yeah. 3D printing has a learning cliff, but once it's set up, it's fairly easy to tick along with. So I'm told my printer is still in the box. Relic played all day, but the best game is whatever people around you are playing. Sometimes not. Depends on what you like, I suppose. I liked classic BattleTech, although especially how campaigns write a story over time. Campaigns are always kind of fun, I think. Forbidden Psalm, Nightwatch, Blood and Bone, Wormhack, Fear the Dark, Solo, Space Station Zero, and Veritwood. Nice. Always know I prefer. Also, already know I prefer skirmish over bigger games. Yeah, me too. Did you back the Forbidden Psalm Kickstarter from December? I don't think I did. Trying to note all you recommendations for skirmish games, but my area there is little support for anything other than Kill Team. Scott Wainwright's Brutality is any genre model agnostic skirmish game. I've heard of that. Golem Arcana was amazing, but sadly flawed due to its reliance on the software. I mean, that was kind of its benefit too, but yeah, it's a little bit of a horse piece. Last 2 conventions I went to saw a lot of All Quiet on the Martian Front type games and weird World War II games being played. Oh, that's pretty cool. Looking for smaller scale rank and flank that is not made by GW. Wouldn't mind a skirmish fantasy game with the base D&D classes. Have all the first, second edition Heavy Gear books myself. Used to be in the Pod Squad, but didn't like the change to Blitz. No offense to Blitz players. Hope you go ahead and had fun. My friend who was really, really into Heavy Gear, I don't think he got into Heavy Gear Blitz. He was into Heavy Gear. What was the other game they had? Gear Krieg, which was like Heavy Gear but like alternate history World War II. He was into that too. And what was their other game? Jovian Chronicles and Tribe 8, if I remember correctly. He had all the books for like all that stuff. Last 2, I read that one. Currently looking for. I barely do any additional work on my Anycubic Viper. It's basically plug and play if you use Kira. Nice. March to Victory Miniature Skirmish Con is March 22nd and 3rd in Independence, Missouri. I think that's the same weekend as AdeptCon. You remain the most sound gamer on YouTube. So many game chats and minis is toxic. I just got no interest in doing that. You know what I mean? Like, I just, people like different things. So if you don't like a thing, then do something else. It's a wide hobby. So if you're like, I don't like this game because of reasons X, Y, and Z, there's no reason to get like angry about it. Just be like, well, I'm not going to talk about it, or I'm just going to play something else, or whatever the deal is. I think a lot of people who get angry about, and I made a video about this years ago, when people get angry about other people's choices, it's because they feel fear. So they're like, look, if people start to like this game better than they like the game that I like to play, then I'm not going to be able to find people to play my game, and then my game will go out of business, and I won't be able to buy any more stuff for it, or something like that. It's, again, extrapolating, but still. I just don't, that's never been a thing that I've been super concerned about, especially since I have a tendency to like to just play. I think the other thing, too, partially, is that if you think differently than I do, then I then have to start thinking about, did I make the wrong choice because I like this game? Am I wrong? And then that makes a fear response as well, and people get kind of weird about it and stuff like that, which I get. But I don't know. I guess I'm old enough to not pay attention to that anymore as much. I'm like, okay, well, you like something different. That's cool. I mean, I don't know. So yeah, I have no interest in going down that road particularly. I'm still going to call out like bad business practices, anti-consumerism, things like that. I'm still going to say when GW does stuff that I don't like, or any other company involved as well. But it's not a thing I necessarily focus on necessarily. But I'm also not going to just be like, nope, everything's roses and or peaches and cream or whatever all the time, because it's not. But I appreciate that there, Sean. Or Scene. I got a friend whose name is Sean, but it's spelled the other way, and so I'm always like, I knew a guy named who spelled that way who went by Scene, which I thought was, I don't know if that's right, but I don't know. I mean, technically you can pronounce your name however you want. I knew a guy in college whose last name was Dubois, but he and his entire family, for as long as he'd been alive, had always pronounced their own name Dubois, but it's spelled Dubois, and I'm just like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. Pretty interested in Silver Bayonet. Anyone have experience with it? I'm 98% sure that Ash from Guerrilla Miniature Games, and it's like Guerrilla like the Freedom Fighters, not like the giant primates. I think he's got battle reports and stuff like that on his channel about it. I think he actually wrote one of the expansions. I think there's a Canadian expansion he might have written. Shadowrun is a missed opportunity in so many ways. They should be making 40K World for their money. Or making 40K work for their money. Have you heard of HeroClix? I have. DC, Marvel, Star Trek, Street Fighter, TMNT, Yu-Gi-Oh! Yeah, they got tons and tons and tons of stuff. Yeah, there was a lot of Clix games. You can mix together, play all the different intellectual properties by making 3D maps for HeroClix. Do you know if HeroClix is considered a board game or a skirmish game? It is technically, I guess, a miniatures game, because you are playing with miniatures. You're playing, admittedly on a grid board, but you could make things three-dimensional if you wanted to. Most people that I see, like the local shop that I go to on Sundays, well, I don't go there on Sundays, but on Sundays, they almost always have HeroClix going on. There's like a group of maybe a dozen or so people who show up to play HeroClix on Sundays at my local shop. So it's still popular around this area. I got into it early on, like in the very first, when it came out back in the 90s. I got into it for a little while, and then it just didn't stick with me for some reason. I also got into the BattleTech version. There was a BattleTech version of HeroClix. It wasn't called HeroClix, but it was made by the same people, and it did have bases with the clicking and all that kind of stuff and everything like that. But they were different kind of bases, because I don't remember if you spun them, but I know there was also a thing on top that you turned. So you had two different ways to track, not just the spinny thing, but another thing as well. One of them was maybe for heat, because it was a BattleTech game. It was called Mech Warrior Dark Age, if I remember correctly. And that I got into more, and I played that for quite a while, and then eventually got out of it and took my stuff with me to Gen Con and sold it at like a booth where, they're buying like Magic cards, but also, HeroClix and stuff, like collectible stuff like that. And I basically paid for my trip to to Gen Con because of the stuff that I had. So I only had like a couple of like good, like I had a couple pieces that at the time were maybe worth about $70 or $80, and then everything else was like considerably less. But still, back then too, being in Milwaukee, it was a lot cheaper of a trip back then too. So when I say it paid for my trip, it wasn't as. Nowadays, it's a different story. Could you make a video about how people could introduce other gamers to the games that they like at their local game store? I mean, I've talked about diversifying your hobby stuff. I've talked about becoming a gaming advocate. I've made actually 2 videos on that. I made a relatively recent one as well, but there's initially a become a gaming advocate video like 8 years ago or more, maybe more. So I've kind of done that a little bit. I can't remember what I called the one that I did just recently, but it was like within the last 3 months, I think. Sometimes all you need is to play a game is 2 armies and a friend willing to try. That's exactly right. Yeah, exactly. I absolutely love Space Weirdos, but for some reason Sword Weirdos did not. I will always want to play Song of Blades and Heroes, but I've been modifying the rules to fit my tastes. I have not yet tried Sword Weirdos. I've been predominantly focused on Space Weirdos. Everything slid on me again. Excuse me. Oh, there we go. Almost tempted to get a 3D printer for terrain only. I have a friend that can print minis, and terrain is cool. If you're going to do terrain, it may be smarter than to get an FDM printer, you know, with the big roll of filament, that stuff, as opposed to the, you know, tank of full liquid. Yeah, the terrain that I'm getting printed for our tanks for the Apocalypse event at Adepticon, that's all going to be done. That's all FDM. My friend Dave is printing it in FDM. He has a Bamboo Labs FDM printer, which is very fast and also prints surprisingly fine for an FDM, like really good. So I'm looking forward to that stuff. Probably, like I said, sometime next week or so, I should probably get it and then be able to start painting. Thinking of restarting my guard army to do mech guard in 10th because I bought a lot of models. Didn't have a real direction. Now I do. What should I do with what I have? Sell it? I mean, that's one thing to do, you know, for sure. Purchased all the Snarling Badger books and Snarling after the last every other Sunday. Your layout work is incredible and on par better than GW. I don't know about that, but I appreciate it. Can't wait to see what this year's game will be. Absolutely. No, it'll be coming out late May. It's very nice of you to say. I don't know that that's like I said, I've been a graphic designer for a quarter of a century, but I've never really focused on that type of layout. I mean, honestly, I've been working in web for a long time, so it was actually kind of refreshing to get back into doing stuff on paper where I know when I put it there, it's going to stay there. You know what I mean? So much with the web these days being responsive design, you have to design something that's going to work both on a 21:9 like ultra wide screen, but also work on someone's phone, and that's kind of hard. So knowing that when I produce a PDF and send it to a printer or whatever the deal is, things are going to stick where they're supposed to be. That's actually sort of nice. I like that. But that's very nice to say. I appreciate it. Really tempted to get the Homeworld game because of the quantity of miniatures that come with it. It's by Modifius. Yeah, Modifius does a lot of licensed stuff. People have internalized somehow that hobby stuff in gaming is a zero-sum system. Yeah, no, there's definitely some of that. VG Morph, have a good night. It's not a zero-sum system. I agree, yeah. Very few things are. Big reason I want to try Space Weirdos is rolling 2 dice to even out the swinginess. Blood Bowl has such a developed community that's already survived GW ignoring the game once. True. Excuse me. I know some people that go by Dubois instead of Dubois. Nice. I like the idea of Silver Bayonet. Yeah, no, it is a cool idea. So is Dracula's America. Both of those are cool ideas. Finding someone else interested is building and painting Napoleonics or American Revolution is tough. Sure. Mage Knight was old school. Oh, yeah. No, Mage Knight was like the first one of the pre-paints, right? Yeah, I remember picking that up at Gen Con. I used to play MechWarrior Dark Ages, sold most of mine to a friend that was grabbing stuff for his nephew at the time. Sort of wish I had kept it. FDM printers are poorly documented. Companies hide behind the hobby concept and decided the instructions aren't their job. That's a problem. I don't like that. I cut the models off their bases and rebased them. I did that with some of the stuff too. Like some of the stuff that I got that I didn't get rid of because it wasn't worth anything. I just like cut it off the bases and then used it as like, oh, this is a ruined mech on the battlefield or whatever, you know, that kind of thing. Has anyone tried that Dungeons & Dragons skirmish game Onslaught? I remember watching some guys playing a demo of it like 2 years ago. I think it was the last time that I was at the Gamma Trade Show. I was not at the Gamma Trade Show in 2023. I will be this upcoming March in 2024. But the last Gamma Trade Show I was at was in 22. And I remember watching some people playing the demo, and I was like, And I just, like, it seems like it's been met with a collective yawn from the entire world, because I don't know anybody who's even like those, the miniatures that they made that kind of went along with it. I have seen those in stores, but I have never seen Onslaught for purchase in a store, or even, like, maybe they like delay it. I have no idea. It's just disappeared, just nothing. It's just really strange. Let's see here. Thanks again for the stream. I appreciate it. I appreciate you folks being here, and I appreciate just talking about the games we like, our favorite games. That's a lot of fun, I think. There's an idea I had last night, and I was like, that'd be a good topic. So here we are. But again, thanks to everybody for coming by today. I appreciate it. Thanks for, like I said, I'm a little stuffed up and everything like that, so I hope I sound okay. But thanks for everybody coming by and hanging out. And I hope you have a good rest of your day. If you get some hobby done, that's cool. If you got some hobby done while we were here talking, that's great as well. After I get back from lunch at the in-laws, I've definitely got some hobby stuff planned. I've got some things I've got to prime so I can get ready to start painting them tomorrow on Twitch. I'll be on Twitch at 7 p.m. Central Time, like normal, Monday night, for about 3 hours. And I also do Friday mornings at 10 a.m. Central Time. So if you get the chance, swing on by if you like that kind of thing. I'm usually here for about 3 hours, just painting and chatting. So I should really make a screen that I can click to make that pop up, but I haven't. Since I switched from the old system to the new system, I haven't gotten to that point yet, but one of these days. Anyway, that's pretty much about it for today. So thanks to everybody for coming by and hanging out and chatting. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching.